Hey folks, Tom Cagley and Jeremy Willets here to talk to you about the 9 core principles of work intake, which we cover in our book, Mastering Work Intake, available from J. Ross Publishing. Good work intake requires that all 9 of these principles are present in some way, shape, or form.
The first of those principles is prioritization. Do you know whether or not you're working on the piece of work that's the most valuable, that can bring your organization the correct value when it needs it at the right time? All of that good stuff. That's prioritization. Has to happen in a systemic way.
The second principle is control, and that word might, sound a little harsh, but the reality is that work needs to follow a defined path as it gets to an organization or a team.
You mean it can't just flow in from anywhere, Jeremy?
Well, it can, but then you'll deal with the ramifications, Tom.
Well, and that's, so principle 3 is transparency. Work that a team, a division, an organization is going to do needs to be out there, needs to be understood by the stakeholders that are impacted by it. And that means sharing that kind of information. If it is coming in from all different places, you're generally not being transparent because you don't want to know that it was the 4 people that called you on the phone this morning.
Principle number 4 is consistency. We love policies and processes. One of the reasons we put policies and processes in place is because we want consistency and we crave consistency. That's a critical element in the work intake equation. You have to have policies and processes in place to govern how work gets to the backlog.
Number 5 is frequency. I don't think any of us would gainsay the fact that we live in a dynamic world with dynamic economy. Our businesses are changing all the time. If we just deal with work intake in one way and just a fire and forget kind of manner, then very frankly, we'll either be doing the wrong thing or we'll be ignoring it and just doing anything that we want.
Number 6 is preparation. Getting ready and getting work ready so that it can be decisioned is a process. You have to have work prepared so that the people that we pay to make decisions about whether to do work or not can make those decisions about whether to do work or not.
The next principle is respect, and it's respect for the people, your teams, your organization. It's respect for the process. You can't just wing it or just think of it as a check the box scenario. It is important, and you have to think of it that way.
Principle number 8 kind of rides along with the principle that Tom was just talking about. This principle is consequences. There have to be ramifications when the queue gets jumped. There have to be ramifications for violating work intake processes.
And if there's consequences, somebody actually has to maintain the process, even when it has to change, has to make sure that it's transparent, has to make sure that it's done systematically. And that's ownership. So somebody needs to own it. And it's not everybody needs to own it. It has to ride on somebody's shoulders to make sure that it's understood, respected, and transparent.
So there you go. Those are the 9 core principles of work intake. Remember, for work intake to be good, all 9 of those principles have to be present in some way, shape, or form. If you want to know more about work intake, check out our book. We wrote a book on the topic. We cover the 9 more core principles in depth in the book. We're also running a Maven.com workshop on the topic of work intake. You can go there to that website, check out our course description, our landing page that describes what we're going to teach in the workshop. And you can also download a copy of a 9 core principles of work intake handout that describes all the principles we talked about here, but also includes questions to identify whether the principles are covered by your organization or team.
If you don't get work intake right, you're probably going to have a hard time with getting any work really done.
Bye, folks.